Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the star of our show, Terry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Music and Me. I'm your host, Terry, and today's episode is a really special one because we're celebrating Mother's Day. Now, when we think about moms, it's easy to think of just one version of what that looks like, the loving, supportive, always there kind of mom. But the truth is, motherhood is so much more than that. It's layered, it's emotional, it's sometimes beautiful, sometimes complicated, and sometimes both at the same time. And that's exactly why I love looking at this through the lens of musicals. Because musicals don't just give us one kind of mother, they give us all of them. So we're going to take a journey through the many different sides of motherhood. We'll talk about the moms who build us up and shape who we become, the moments where they have to let us go and watch us grow, the relationships that aren't always perfect but are still deeply real, and the fierce, powerful love that can protect, push, and sometimes even overwhelm. We're also going to explore stories of loss, memory, and what it means to carry someone with you. And finally, we'll end with the joy, the chaos, and the love that makes motherhood so special. Because this episode isn't just about moms, it's about mother figures too. The people who show up for us, who guide us, who love us in ways that stay with us for the rest of our lives. So whether you're celebrating your mom today, missing her, honoring someone who has been like a mom to you, or maybe even stepping into that role yourself, this episode is for you. So let's get started. Let's start at the beginning with the kind of love that builds us, the kind that shapes who we are long before we even realize it. Because when we think about motherhood, it often starts in the quietest ways, in the lessons we're taught, the routines we grow up in, and the people who show up for us day after day. The first song that I want to talk about is Days and Days from Fun Home. In this moment in the show, we hear from Allison's mother, Helen, as she reflects on her life, the years she spent taking care of her family, keeping everything together, and putting her own needs aside. She sings about the repetition of her days, the routine, and that feeling of being a little lost in all of it. And while that might sound sad on the surface, it also shows something really important about motherhood. Because so much of a mother's love is found in those everyday moments, like the things that don't always get noticed or the sacrifices that aren't always seen. It's that steady, constant presence, the kind that builds a life for someone else. Next, we have Everything I Know from In the Heights. Now, this song comes at a really emotional point in the show. Nina is reflecting on the loss of Abuela Claudia, who, while not her biological mother, has been a mother figure in her life. And as she processes the loss, she realizes just how much of who she is comes from her. The lessons, the strength, the love, it's all there, living inside her. And I love how this song expands the idea of motherhood because it reminds us that it's not just about biology, it's about connection. It's about the people who raise you, guide you, and pour love into your life. And then we have So Big, So Small from Dear Evan Hansen. This one is such a powerful moment in the show. Evan's mom shares a story about when he was little, a moment when he felt small and scared, and how she promised to always be there for him. But she also opens up about her own struggles, about being a single mom, about not always knowing if she was doing things right. And that's what makes this song so special. It shows that motherhood isn't about being perfect. It's just about showing up. It's about trying. It's about loving your child enough to say, I may not have all the answers, but I'm here. All three of these songs show us that the love that builds us isn't always loud. It's in the routines, the lessons, the small moments that stay with us long after they've passed. And when you really think about it, those are the moments that shape us the most. Now, we're moving into something that's just a natural part of life. But that doesn't make it any easier. Growing up and letting go. Because no matter how strong that foundation is, there comes a moment when things start to change. Kids grow up, they become more independent, they start figuring out who they are. And for moms, that can be such a beautiful thing, but also a really emotional one. The first song in this section is Slipping Through My Fingers from Mamma Mia. In this moment, Donna is getting her daughter Sophie ready for her wedding day. And as she's helping her, she starts reflecting on all those little moments that led up to this. Raising her, watching her grow, all the memories that seem so small at the time, but now mean everything. And there's this realization that time has gone by so quickly, which is true. That the moments you thought would last forever just don't. It's that feeling of wanting to hold on while knowing you have to let go. Next, we have Mama, I'm a Big Girl Now from Hairspray. Now, this one brings in a completely different energy, and I love that. In this song, the daughters are basically saying, we're ready to grow up, we're ready to make our own choices. And the moms, they're reacting in their own ways. Some supportive, some hesitant, some trying to hold on just a little longer. It's fun, it's upbeat, but underneath it, there's something really real. That push and pull between independence and protection. Between I've got this and I still need you. And then we have Everything Changes from Waitress. This song happens when Jenna holds her baby for the very first time. And in that moment, everything shifts. Her perspective changes, her priorities change, her understanding of love changes. It's such a powerful depiction of what it means to become a mother. Not just raising a child, but realizing that your entire world has been transformed. This section really shows both sides of growth. The child stepping forward into their own life, and the mother learning how to take a step back, even just a little. It's emotional, it's complicated, but it's also a sign of something beautiful, because growth means that love did its job. Now, let's go a little deeper, because as beautiful as motherhood can be, it's not always simple, it's not always easy, and it's definitely not always perfect. And one of the things I appreciate most about musicals is that they don't pretend that it is. They give us the messy parts, the moments of doubt, the struggles with identity, and the times when things don't look the way we thought they would. The first song in this section is Mama Who Bore Me from Spring Awakening. This song comes from Wendla, a young girl who is trying to understand herself, her body, and the world around her. But she feels like she hasn't been given the answers she needs. She's questioning her mother, not out of anger, but out of confusion, out of a need to understand where she came from and why she feels so lost. And I think this really captures something important. Sometimes the disconnect in a mother-child relationship isn't about a lack of love, it's about a lack of understanding, about the things that weren't said, or the things that weren't explained. Next, we have She Used to Be Mine from Waitress. In this moment, Jenna is reflecting on her life and the person she feels she's become. She's facing a difficult situation, an unhealthy relationship, and the reality of becoming a mother all at once. And she feels like she's lost herself somewhere along the way. But what makes this song so powerful is that even in that loss, there's still hope. There's still a sense that she remembers who she was and maybe who she can be again. And I think that's something really real when it comes to motherhood. It doesn't erase who you are, but it can change you in ways that you don't always expect. And then we have Back to Before from Ragtime. This is such a defining moment. Mother is standing at a crossroads in her life. Her world has changed, her perspective has shifted, and she realizes that she can't go back to who she used to be. She's not just reacting to life anymore, she's choosing it. Choosing growth, choosing change, choosing to move forward. And when you look at that through the lens of motherhood, it's incredibly powerful because it shows a woman stepping into her own strength, not just as a mother, but as a person. These songs remind us that motherhood isn't just about love, it's about growth, it's about struggle, and it's about figuring things out even when you don't have all the answers. And sometimes it's in those complicated, messy moments that the most real and meaningful connections are formed. Now, let's take a step into the kind of love that is impossible to ignore. This is the fierce kind of love, the powerful kind, the kind that can lift someone up, but can also push a little too hard. Because sometimes motherhood isn't just gentle and nurturing, sometimes it's intense. It's driven by fear, by ambition, by a deep desire to give your child a better life. And musicals really lean into that complexity. The first song in this section is Stay With Me from Into the Woods. In this moment, the witch is trying to keep Rapunzel safe from the dangers of the world. She's terrified of losing her, terrified of what could happen if she lets her go. So she holds on very tightly, too tightly. And that's what makes this song so powerful, because her love is real. But the way she expresses it, it becomes controlling. It raises that question: when does protection cross the line? And I think that's something that can feel very real. That balance between keeping someone safe and letting them live their own life. Then we move into Everything's Coming Up Roses from Gypsy. This is such a bold, defining moment for Mama Rose. She's determined to make her daughter a star. She's full of energy, optimism, and this unstoppable drive. But underneath it all, there's pressure, there's expectation, and there's this sense that her dreams are being placed onto her child. And that's where things start to get complicated, because her love is tied to ambition, to success, and to a vision of what she believes her child's life should be. And that leads us right into Rose's turn from Gypsy. This is the breaking point. Everything that Mama Rose has been holding in, her sacrifices, her dreams, her frustrations, it all comes to the surface. And we finally see the full picture. A woman who gave everything, but maybe lost herself along the way. A mother whose love was real, but whose needs and desires became tangled up in her child's life. It's raw, it's emotional, and it's incredibly human. So this section really shows us that motherhood can be powerful, but also complicated. That love can be strong, but not always simple. And that sometimes the line between helping and holding on too tightly can be hard to see. Now let's take a moment and slow things down a little bit. Because this next part, it's about something really tender. It's about loss, about absence, and about what it means to hold on to love, even when someone isn't physically there anymore. And I think this is something that so many people can relate to in different ways. Sometimes it's losing a mother, sometimes it's distance, and sometimes it's just wishing for more time, more words, or more moments. But what these songs show us is that love like that doesn't just disappear. The first song in this section is Home from Beetlejuice. In this moment, Lydia is grieving the loss of her mother. She feels lost, disconnected, and like the world doesn't quite make sense anymore. And she's trying to figure out what home even means without the person who made it feel that way. And I think that's something a lot of people understand. Because home isn't always a place, sometimes it's a person. And when that person is gone, there's this emptiness and this space that nothing else quite fills. But at the same time, this song shows us something else, the beginning of healing. The idea that even though someone is gone, the love that they gave you can still guide you forward. Next, we have How Could I Ever Forget from Next to Normal. This song is all about memory, about holding on to someone, about the fear of letting go, and the question of what it means to move forward after loss. And it's not simple, because when someone has been such a huge part of your life, you don't want to forget. You don't want to leave them behind. And I think that connects so deeply to motherhood, because the love between a mother and a child is something that becomes part of who you are. So even when things change and even when someone isn't physically there, that connection, it doesn't just disappear. And then we have Maybe from Next to Normal. This song brings in a slightly different perspective. It's about longing, about wondering what could have been, about holding on to hope even when things are uncertain. There's this quiet vulnerability in it, this sense of reaching for something that just feels out of reach. And when you think about it in the context of motherhood, it really highlights how deep the need for connection can be, how powerful that bond is, even when it's complicated or incomplete. So, this section reminds us that even in absence, love doesn't just go away. It just changes and evolves, but it stays with us in our memories, in the lessons we carry, and in the people we become. And in a way, that means they're never really gone. All right, everyone. After everything we've talked about so far in this episode, I just want us all to pause and take a deep breath, because this next part is about something really important. It's about what comes after all that, after the struggle, after the questions, after the loss, after everything that feels like it changes you. It's about strength, not the loud, dramatic kind of strength, but the quiet kind. The kind that shows up when you keep going anyway, when you carry love with you even when things aren't perfect, and when you find a way to move forward even if you're still figuring it out. The first song in this section is So Anyway from Next to Normal. In this moment, there's a sense of reflection and acceptance. It's not about everything being fixed or perfect, it's about acknowledging everything that's happened, the pain, the love, the loss, the growth, and still choosing to keep going. There's something really powerful about that kind of honesty, because it reminds us that healing isn't linear. It doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean everything goes back the way it was. It just means that you keep moving, with everything you've been through still with you. And then we have Together Wherever We Go from Gypsy. This song brings in a completely different energy, but in the best way. It's playful, it's bold, it's about unity and sticking together no matter what life brings. And when you think about it through the lens of motherhood, it really is beautiful. Because at its core, it's all about connection, about staying linked to the people you love even as life changes around you. There's this sense of we're in this together, no matter what direction life takes. And that's such a powerful message for families, for mothers, for children, for everyone. This section reminds us that even after everything, there is still forward motion. There's still connection, there's still strength, there is still love that continues to carry us. And sometimes that's enough. All right, so we're almost at the end of our journey. And I want to close this episode with something a little lighter, a little joyful, and a reminder of everything we've been celebrating. So let's end with joy, laughter, and the celebration of motherhood itself. We've been on quite a journey today. We've talked about love that builds us, growing up and letting go, the messy and complicated parts of relationships, the fierce and powerful moments, and even loss and memory. And now, I want to end this episode where I think motherhood really lives at its core, in real life, in the joy, in the chaos, in the humor, in the everyday moments that don't always get talked about, but mean everything. Because motherhood isn't just one thing, it's everything at once. The song I think says this is Motherhood from Hello Dolly. This song has such a fun, lively energy to it, and it really celebrates the reality of being a mother in a way that feels full of personality and life. Because yes, motherhood is love and sacrifice, but it's also juggling a million things at once. trying to keep everything together and somehow still showing up with heart. And there's something really beautiful about that chaos. It's not perfect, but it's real. And even though we've already moved through so many emotional moments today, I think it's important to remember this too. There is so much laughter in motherhood, so much music in it, so much movement in it, so much life in it. Even in the hardest moments, there are still small sparks of joy. So as we wrap up this journey through moms and musicals, I just want to say this. To every mother, to every mother figure, to every person who has ever given love, guidance, comfort, or strength in that way, thank you. Thank you for the things that you do that are seen and the things that go unseen. For the love that stays steady even when life doesn't. For the way you shape people's lives just by being in them. And today, we celebrate all of it. As we come to the end of this special Mother's Day episode, I just want to take a moment to really sit with everything we've talked about today. Because this episode has been so much more than songs from musicals. It's been about love in all its forms. It's been about connection, growth, loss, strength, and everything in between. And it's been about the people who shape us in ways we don't always fully realize until much later in life. And on a more personal note, I really want to take a moment to honor some of the most important mothers and mother figures in my life. First, to my mom. Thank you for everything you've given me, your love, your strength, your patience, and all those little moments that build who I am today. So much of my life, my heart, and even this podcast exists because of you. So thank you, Mother. I love you. And to my sister, who has shown such incredible strength and love as a mother figure and as a person. Watching you care for others, show up for people you love, and navigate life with so much heart is something I deeply admire. And to my niece, who is celebrating her very first Mother's Day this year. This is such a beautiful milestone, and it's honestly so moving to see you step into this role. You're doing an awesome job. There is something incredibly special about witnessing a new chapter of motherhood begin. And I know you're going to bring so much love, care, and light into this journey. And to everyone listening, whether you're celebrating your mom today, missing her, honoring someone who has been like a mom to you, or even stepping into motherhood yourself, I hope this episode reminded you that you're not alone in your story. Because motherhood, like the music we talked about today, is layered. It's complicated, it's emotional, and it's deeply human. But above all, it is love. So from my heart to yours, happy Mother's Day, and thank you for always spending this time with me here on The Music in Me. Peace out, everyone.
This has been the Music in Me podcast. Subscribe now so you don't miss a beat.